Several videos have been made trying to explain the new British government's policy to massively improve teacher recruitment into the UK, to shore up the number of teachers in the British educational sector. But I find some of the videos very confusing for myself to understand, and I believe some of you may have also encountered the same challenges. This video is my attempt to crystallize the information into something that is simple and easy to understand for you, and turn it into something that you can just pick up and run with, showing you specifically what to do, explaining the various pathways, and helping you to understand it so that you can make a decision and know exactly what your next steps are. Now, with 4 distinct pathways in this immigration program, I believe there is a pathway for everyone or anyone who is desperate to move to the UK. If this sounds like something that's going to be of value to you, kindly stay around, consider subscribing as well and hitting the like button. So to teach in the UK, you need what is known as a qualified teacher status, otherwise called the QTS. The QTS is awarded by the Teaching Regulation Agency, which controls what happens in the teaching sector in the UK. Even though there are arrangements under which you can teach under the UK for a 4-year period known as the 4-year rule, there are several restrictions to this. The 4-year rule allows you to teach without a QTS once you are a qualified teacher and you have undergone a training that is recognized in the country where you qualified. But with this plan, you still have to get a QTS after teaching for a 4-year period. Also, under this arrangement, you can only teach in private schools, free schools, and academies. So it means that you still have to get a QTS after a period of 4 years, and then to have you teach in the government schools or the schools that are maintained by the government. And there are 4 pathways of getting the QTS. You can get it directly through the TRA if you're a qualified teacher. You can get it by assessment. You can get it through the internationally qualified teacher status where you train in your home country. And lastly, you can get it by coming to England to train as a teacher in universities, after which you are given the QTS. Okay guys, so let's delve into the details of the 4 specific routes by which you can migrate to the UK as a teacher. Now, if you look at this chart I have here, the first one is getting your QTS through the TRA. Now, like I said, this is the good news for qualified teachers that has been wildly publicized in the past few weeks. Now, this one, you can access it from your home country. You don't need to move to the UK to access this. Once you're a qualified teacher in your home country, that is Ghana, Hong Kong, India, Jamaica, Nigeria, Singapore, South Africa, Ukraine, and Zimbabwe, you can apply directly to the TRA and get your QTS. Now, the eligibility is that you need to be a trained graduate teacher, not diploma teacher. You need to have at least 1 year work experience. Now, you also need maths and science qualification of GCSE grade 4 and above, which is the equivalent of C6 in the WASI, which we write in Ghana and Nigeria. You also need to submit evidence that you are recognized as a teacher in your country where you qualified. That means that whichever regulation agency regulates and awards you your certificates, I believe in Ghana it will be the Ministry of Education. Now, you should also show that you are not prohibited or restricted from teaching by a professional sanction against you. You also need to prove your English proficiency. Of course, just like the nurses, you need to show that you are proficient in the speaking, the writing, the reading, and understanding of the English language. Now, with this method, you will require a statement of comparability. The duration is 2 to 4 weeks. With this route, you don't need any training. You don't have any dealings with training institutions in England to train you to award you any further certificates. Also free. You don't have to pay any training fees. There is no assessment required. Now, the only exemptions is that if you are not a registered teacher with any teacher organization in your country, you cannot apply for this method. If you are a teacher whose qualification is only in teaching kids with special needs, you cannot apply for this route. Also, teachers with postgraduate certification only cannot apply for this method. For example, you have a bachelor's degree and then you want to top up with a postgraduate diploma, but you are not recognized as a teacher in your country, you cannot apply for this. You cannot apply through this route. You need to be a qualified teacher recognized in your country, having a bachelor's degree in education to apply for this route. Now, the next method, getting your QTS through the assessment only route. Now, this one can also be pursued from your home country. You don't need to come to the UK to do this assessment only method. What you need is a bachelor's degree in any field at all, a minimum of 2 years classroom experience. So let's say you have a bachelor's degree in accounting or in statistics, okay, or a bachelor's degree in theology, but you have been teaching in some schools. Let's say you've been teaching in private schools, you have about 2 years classroom experience. This method is for you. You also need additional criteria specified by teacher training providers. So once you apply, there will be specified teacher training providers who have specific criteria to meet the TRA standard so that you can be awarded the QTS seamlessly. Also, you need English, Maths and Science GCSE grade 4, which is equivalent to WASI C6. Now, with this method, you don't need a statement of comparability. The duration of this assessment only method is a period of 12 weeks over which your assessments will be carried out, and once they are convinced, they will award you your QTS. Now, it is required that you contact the training institutions before the applications, as they may have other requirements and the cost may differ. For this assessment only method, the fees is about £1,500 to £4,000. So you can have a look at the current exchange rate and do your conversion into whether Ghana cedis or Nigerian naira. With this method, assessment is required. There is no classroom experience required. Now, the third route is teacher training in England. Now, this will be a challenge for people who cannot secure a visa to move here, but it is also an available route for people who want to come and teach in the UK. So with that one, you must move into the UK to have your teacher training in a university in England before you can be awarded a QTS. Bachelor's degree or no bachelor's degree, you can apply to come into teacher training in England. No experience is needed, but you must have Maths and Science qualification of GCSE grade 4 and above, which is the equivalent of WASI C6 or better. Now, you also need to have confirmed the offer of training place from the English teacher training provider. You also need to have an immigration status which allows you to train in the UK, and a statement of comparability is required. Now, the duration of this program is 1 year full-time, 2 years part-time. If you have no degree, then it will take you 3 to 4 years. So in that case, you are going to pursue just like a bachelor's degree, and then upon completion of the 3 to 4 years bachelor's degree, you get awarded your QTS. With this one, you need the training institutions to have given you the admission before you can process your visa. The training fees for this method is also an impressive £12,000 to £22,000.
Wow.
Now, assessment is required because you will be assessed by the institutions before you are awarded the place to pursue the course. Now, if you have poor GCSE grades, that is, your grades are lower than C6 in English, Maths and Science, you cannot pursue this method, especially if you want to teach in a primary school. Now, the fourth method, the internationally qualified teacher status, does not require you to be a teacher. It does not require you to move to England. All it needs you to do is to stay in your home country, have a bachelor's degree, and have the patience to undergo a 9-month online course in your home country, upon completion of which you will be awarded the qualified teacher status. So the accessibility for this one, you can access it from your home country. You will be in your home, and then you have the training done online by the university in England. For the eligibility for this type or this route, you need a bachelor's degree. You need to have Maths and Science qualification of GCSE grade 4 and above, which is equivalent to WASI C6 and above, just like in the other routes. You need to have proof of English language proficiency. And with that one, you need to have the IELTS band 6.5 or higher. You also need to have a letter confirming that your bachelor's degree was taught in English language. You don't need any experience as a teacher. Now, you require a statement of comparability. So you are going to apply to ENIC with your bachelor's degree, and then they will check your bachelor's degree and see how comparable it is to the standards of the UK universities or the UK bachelor's qualifications. The duration for the IQTS is 1 year, including at least 120 days of practical experience. So the online training itself for the IQTS is a period of 9 months, but after the 9 months, there's an additional 3 months of practical experience, and that makes it 1 year. Now, training institutions are required in this method because they need to be contacted for placement of schools in your area which you wish to teach after you've been given the IQTS. The fees for the IQTS is £9,000 minimum, and you require an assessment, like we said earlier. Now, the exemptions of those who cannot use the IQTS: if you have poor grades in GCSE, in English, Maths and Science, if they are lower than C6, if you are also unable to pass the IELTS, or you cannot prove that you have excellent English skills through the IELTS, and also showing that your BSc was taught in English, you cannot do this. It is also good that you approach this process as a marathon and not a short sprint, because there are several things that you may have to do when you get into the details, and it may not be as smooth as it may be painted out here. So I know that all of this information can be very daunting, but I hope this is of great value to you. Now, in order not to get stuck in the rabbit hole of making a purchase decision, what I would suggest is that you take a casual look at the chart, go through it yourself, and you know what is best going to fit your situation. After you have convinced yourself of which route is most appropriate for you, the next thing is to gather your documents, your bachelor's degree, your English proficiency qualification, that is the IELTS, certificate from your teacher regulation agency in your home country, which shows that you are a teacher of good standing, and then head over to ENIC, which is the institution that is going to award you the certificate of comparability. It's just about £49.50. Once you pay that money to them, it's going to take 15 working days, which is 3 full weeks, to get your statement of comparability out. Once that statement of comparability is out and your documents are intact, you head over to the teaching regulation agency, you apply for your QTS. Once you get your QTS, the next thing is to head over to websites where you can get jobs, and then once you get your job, the school will give you the certificate of sponsorship. Once you get your certificate of sponsorship, the next thing to do is to apply for your visa and migrate to the UK. If you want me to talk about websites that you can get jobs and where you can apply for jobs in the UK, kindly post it in the comments, and I'll have a look and give you that information in my next video. I'll also post the link to the website of the Home Office where you can get more information on this immigration route. I'll also post a link to the Get Into Education England website. Alright guys, I hope at this point my aim of simplifying the process for you has been achieved. If this video has been of value to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that when I post the next videos on the website to get the jobs as a teacher, you will be notified and you will be able to watch it. This is Manasseh. Thank you for watching.
Like and subscribe.